Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It is Monday morning, and what better way to start your week than with some liberal insanity. We are going to be mixing and matching the men and the women back together to get the week started. Let's get into it.
Fight me on this, but if you have a cross around your neck or a fucking cross tattoo, bitch, you're a piece of shit. You're a piece of shit.
Just remember, folks, just because the president says you don't gotta respect trans and non-binary people doesn't mean that I won't personally fuck you up.
Every Republican and the mainstream media are going to be gaslighting us, in fact, have already begun to gaslight us about what Elon Musk did. About the gesture that he made multiple times. But don't ask them about it. You know who you can ask about it? Ask the neo-Nazi groups and the white supremacist groups in the US. Ask them about what Elon did, because they'll tell you. They know what he did, and they're super happy about it.
Made a catastrophic error that got 13 innocent Americans killed.
Except the Trump administration was the one who planned that. The Biden administration made an awful mistake in going along with that plan. And yes, the pullout of Afghanistan was awful, but don't compare that poorly planned attempt to draw out of somewhere to top-level government officials leaking classified documents on an unsecure server. I can't with you guys.
The logical conclusion to transphobia is adult men getting to be alone with little girls to inspect them to make sure they aren't little boys. Now, conservatives would have you believe that it's about protecting children. It's really actually about serving them up to predators. It's about giving grown men with any sort of power over children the legal authority and plausible deniability to make sure that the parts match the paperwork, however they see fit. It's about grooming little girls and training them up to believe that it's okay for grown-ups to ask them to take their clothes off because they just want to make sure that they are who they really say they are. Which begs the question, what exactly do you need to pass the test? Is it your paperwork? Is it a blood test? Is it a visual inspection? Maybe it's a physical one. Those are the answers to questions that an entire generation of little girls gets to find out in real time. Because...
Okay, right off the bat, what on earth is she talking about? This is pretty insane, the direction that she's going in. Because, I mean, she's speaking to us without making accusation. She's speaking to us, trying to be, a little gentle in how I approach this situation here. But she's speaking to us as if this is like a topic that we already know in our heads. And she's explaining why it happens this way. So, for one, I'm quite interested as to where the heck does she get her information from? Or is she one of those people that sits at home and thinks that she's like ingenious and figures that she's cracked the code and she's figured out this conspiracy theory in her head? Because when it comes to conservatives with children and our concerns about the whole transphobic or transgender side of it, I've never heard of one situation where it's like, hey, let me look under there to make sure you are what you are. No, we are trying to protect these children from mostly liberal nut jobs that try and confuse them and groom them into thinking that it's okay to have these weird feelings and you can decide if you want to change your gender. Now, again, I do understand that there is such thing as gender dysphoria. I understand that. But it's not, 7 out of every 10 kids nowadays that have gender dysphoria. For some reason, these liberal women, liberal men, older liberals, this is what shocks me, is it's the older ones think that this is normal and think that, just let them blossom to whatever they want to blossom into and don't actually try and guide them on the right path. The fact that we're trying to guide them on the right path makes it either we must be absolute Christian cultists. Now apparently we are groomers. I'm trying to use You guys know what I mean with what we're getting to here, what they're trying to accuse our side of. I'm willing to bet if we ever get to see this Epstein list, and I just seen something from Alex Jones today on X. Apparently, there's 14,000 terabytes of information on hard drives about the whole Epstein case. So that's a lot of stuff, guys. But I'm willing to bet majority of that list is going to be left over right. There'll be some right on there, don't get me wrong, but a lot more of it's going to be on the left.
So I told my stepdad that I'm transitioning male to female. And then I showed him a picture and he was like, who's that old woman? And at first I was like, and then I was like, oh wait, you think I look like a woman? Yeah.
To all the MAGA Trump supporting Republicans out there that are upset and offended by the 4B movement of the girls shaving their heads, wasn't this y'all? Wasn't this y'all literally like 4 months ago? Yep, this was y'all. Y'all literally did this. Not to mention y'all burned your football jerseys. You threw away your Gillette razors and threw your Keurigs off of balconies. So whenever the left protests silently and doesn't like hurt anybody, it's a big deal and a big problem to you guys. But when y'all protest, you're literally destroying your own stuff that you bought with your own money. But I guess that's the difference between liberals and the MAGA cult. I just don't understand why you think that girls shaving their heads is such a big deal. Oh, that's right. Because you think that one person was offended because they had alopecia or cancer, that you should also be offended and say that's disrespectful. When it's not. You just want to find fault in everything that the left does when they peacefully protest because you're just upset that they're not burning things to the ground, which is what you guys do. You got to do better.
Pete Hegseth is a drunk, cosplaying pretty boy, a party bro. He has no business being sect deaf. And you know how you know? Because he fucking proved it by putting sensitive military information. That, by the way, under the laws of the United States, no matter how they want to spin it and try to gaslight you, is in fact illegal. It is in fact a felony.
I absolutely love waking up to more news about how Trump is about to kill our country. I mean, isn't it obvious by now that he is not working in the best interests of the people of our country? The longer we let this go on, the more trouble we'll have reconciling with the rest of the world, if they even give us a chance. It is going to take decades to recover our reputation. Not that we've had a great one recently, but yeah. We are screwed. We are absolutely screwed. And no amount of kitty cuddles is going to save us from a tyrant.
As a queer person, I had to have a difficult conversation with my brother. I told him that if I send a text message with these specific 2 words, I am going to flee and I will not contact you until I am safe in another country. So I have a go bag ready. I'm trying to save about $1,000 for myself by selling a bunch of my stuff. And then I'm also trying to get my passport. So those are like the next steps that I'm doing. But I'm not going to flee until I absolutely fucking have to. I'm going to stand and fight as long as I can. But I have kids in my town. My kids are living with my ex-wife in the town that I'm in. So I don't want to flee. I don't want to leave my kids. But if I absolutely have to, I will. I will not go into a fucking concentration camp.
So I've seen a few clips from this guy. I've never actually, I don't think I've ever used one of his clips. If I have, I may have once. But I've seen a few of his clips. It's always the same thing, different colored beard and different color painted nails and whatnot. He identifies as they and them. So he identifies as non-binary, what I call its and that's. The fact that he's willing to move away from his children, it says a lot about where he really stands. Because, look, if he was one of those full-fledged, he's already transitioned and he thinks he's a woman now, I can understand his paranoia more if I'm trying to put myself in his shoes. But the fact that he just identifies as non-binary and he's more or less just queer, he's, got the funky little nails happening, the weird beard and all the rest of it. What's he so worried about? I don't get it. It doesn't really make much sense to me whatsoever. But the fact that you'd actually be able to take off from your family, I mean, you did obviously identify as a man at one point, you had a wife and you had a child, and something just made you decide like you're queer. Okay, live your queer life in the same city as your child. What makes you think that you have to leave? What rights are possibly being violated on this individual who just simply wants to identify as they and them?
Breaking news, a new poll released out of Alabama today shows that 100% of MAGA voters support Donald Trump's initiative to remove DEI from the government. When asked what DEI was, though, however, 75% of them said that is where black people and gays in dresses get jobs over white people. When explained that that was not exactly what DEI was, that it was actually a service in which it could help handicapped people who needed certain kinds of accessory tools. Maybe if they're deaf, they might need an interpreter. They then said, oh, you mean the broken people? We should get rid of them too.
I've been getting this more and more lately, and I would just like to know, if we are in a fucking cult, who's our leader? Who's our cult leader? Who's our leader? Because that's the fucking requirement, right? To be in a cult is to have a leader. We don't have a leader. So make that make sense.
I don't know about y'all, but I personally would never tell people online to find pictures of ICE agents, find their names, date of births, all their information online, and then, make it public. I would never do that. I would never, someone on the internet, because that's awful. I would never do that. Is it a crime? Yes. Would I do it? No.
President Biden, I miss you, man. I'm telling you, I miss you. Sleepy Joe, I miss you, buddy. I just miss your boring ass when you just went in there and did your job. Nothing crazy was going on. The stock market wasn't crashing, and allies didn't hate us, and all the crazy shit that's happened. I just wanted to tell you, Mr. Biden, I miss you. I really, really do. And I know millions of us really do too. God bless you, sir. I hope you have a good day. Sleepy Joe, we miss you, buddy.
Shoot at ICE agents on site. That's right. If ICE agents are trying to take you or a loved one, shoot them on site. The way they're pulling up, with masks on, with unmarked vehicles, no badge, no nothing, it could be anybody. It can be gang members. You have every right to shoot at them. This would be the best self-defense case. You're just in fear for your life. You don't know who's behind that unmarked vehicle or who's behind that mask. This is ridiculous. What is our country coming to? Why would you want to be an ICE agent anyway? Do you like separating kids from their parents? Do you like deporting students that are studying? I can understand deporting a gang member or criminals, but innocent people, it's ridiculous. The way these ICE agents are pulling up with masks on, unmarked vehicles, they are pulling up like gang members. They are pulling up like the mafia. You might as well shoot them on sight and have your day in court. Take care, guys. Now I'm out.
Okay, this guy's logic makes no sense, and this is probably some of the worst advice I've heard anybody put online and leave his video up. At this point, you think he would have taken his video down with how incredibly stupid this is. But right off the bat, he's telling people, shoot ICE. They're showing up in masks. They're showing up in unmarked vehicles. They're showing up without badges. Yet somehow you still can identify them as ICE, so you know who they are. And you're recommending to people to shoot them. Because in your mind, they're taking away people that are not criminals. Now, it has happened. It has happened. But some of these people that are not actually criminal have proven to be very un-American. They are not there to be a good citizen, so why should they stay? Yet, think about it. If this is your logic behind shooting them, wouldn't that person right there become like the worst criminal that you can be? Because that's first degree murder. It's not self-defense. Nobody would ever buy that. Now, also going by his theory, if anybody who's in a mask should be shot, this is not me saying it, I'm just going by what he's saying. What about all these protesters? Couldn't they be mistaken then as ICE agents? Since majority of these patriotic protesters that want to stand in front of Teslas or that want to have these Palestine marches down the street or that claim that they stand with Ukraine, if they're so patriotic, why is their faces always hidden, either behind a COVID mask or a bandana? So there's nothing wrong. I do question it myself as to why ICE, not all of them, but why ICE has been wearing masks. And the only theory I can think of, which actually makes sense to me, is that the left has become so unhinged, you cannot trust their actions. The leftists, you liberals out there, have become actually a scary member of society. There's no telling what you guys are capable of at this point, and it's to the point where you guys should be considered dangerous. Not all of you, but a very large portion of you should be considered dangerous. And that's the only thing that makes sense to me as to why ICE agents are covering their face, because they know the repercussions they're going to face from insane leftists just for doing their job and upholding the law and upholding the Constitution of the United States. It's sickening. It truly is sickening. Well, guys, that's it for this one. I do have one more clip for you guys. If you guys are not subscribed to the channel yet, please do so if you like this type of content. If anybody has a chance, check out the links in my description below to check out DrunkPinata's show. Very informative, a lot of fun, a lot of skits, a lot of other... he puts on a lot of libtards there as well. I mean, he puts my show, but he also puts a lot of other clips as well. I think you guys will really enjoy it. He sent a lot of subscribers over to my channel, so it would be nice if I can kind of like, pay back the favor a little bit. If you guys have already, great. If not, maybe just check it out. Rumble's where I go to check it out. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.
I was just in the women's room at a cheesecake factory, and when I walked in, there was this little girl, like 3 years old, tops. She was standing there alone, I assumed waiting for her parent who was in the stall. And all the stalls were full. So like I couldn't go in, I just had to wait. And it was me and this little girl and no one else. And she kind of looked at me like, and I just like nodded my head and didn't look at her. I was like, it's kind of awkward. And it occurred to me that when the parent, who I don't know, leaves the stall, exits their stall, and sees me, a trans person, and their little 3-year-old daughter, that they might make an assumption based on untrue things that they've heard. An assumption that could be very dangerous for me, unsafe for me. So instead of waiting for that to potentially happen, I left the bathroom and decided I didn't need to pee that bad. Trans people go through this thought process any time they're in a bathroom. And it's not okay. And it's important to talk about because it happens all the time.